Welcome, everybody, to Come Back to Love Radio. Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome to our new listeners. We are here every week on Thursdays at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host, Robyn Vogel. I'm a love and intimacy coach, an IFS therapist, and the creator of Ready for Love in 90 Days. This is a sacred space where we explore real, raw, and the beautiful journey of coming home to love, starting with ourselves and extending to the relationships we long to heal, deepen, or ignite. Each week, I'll share powerful tools, heart-opening stories, and transformational insights to help you release old patterns and keep love just out of reach. Whether you're healing from heartbreak, feeling stuck in familiar dynamics, or simply craving deeper connection, you're in the right place. Today, I have a very special guest, and I'm really excited to introduce you to Tatiana Sunik.
I'm a wealth advisor, fiduciary, and I'm also a divorce specialist, which really, when it comes to financial side of a divorce. And that came from, first of all, I've been in the industry of wealth management for over 23 years. And the divorce really came into the place where I got divorced myself around 10 years ago. And I felt that the space was, it needed a little financial enhancement as far as the complexities of the financials on the divorce side. And I fell kind of organically into this by doing this for friends and some family, and then just really focusing a little bit more and making a practice that's partly, not fully, partly focused on the divorces. And as a result, I found to be more adding value to women that never really had a relationship with money, or they had bad relationship with money, perhaps, right? So that is really where my value is, in the financial literacy of that. And as a result, it's sort of expanded generally on women, no matter if they are divorcees or if they are women who are successful, because the correlation actually between success and ability to pay attention to your own money is negative, because, as a woman, we are womanhood 24/7, we're busy, and a lot of times it's just there's no bandwidth, right? That's the first issue. And second is, I say financial world was created by man for man, so we were never the audience. And a lot of times women are sort of product of that. We just not the messaging that was created was not geared towards us, so it sort of went right past our ear. And that's changing, although the damage sort of is done, and now we're unwinding that. It's still some long road, to go, but we are making steps.
Wow. Well, I'm really glad you're here. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I'm also divorced. I've been divorced for 20 years. And as a psychotherapist and an intimacy coach, I also see and work with so many people who have been through divorce or actually going through divorce right now. And so, yeah, the way that women navigate that space and have the resources and tools and support is really important to me. I didn't personally have the resources, tools, and support that I know now that I could have had 20 years ago. Like I did the best I could at that time and everything worked out okay, more or less. But I'm constantly, when I'm in this realm of work, thinking, oh, if I only had, Tatiana with me 20 years ago, things um might be different in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 20 years ago, the shot of you having a female advisor is probably like low to nothing. So
Yes.
statistically, I also do speaking engagements, and I have a little bit of sort of a preview where I go into history. Women, there's still this uphill climb, right? We were really late to the game as far as the ability to have equal rights to education, and even the banking system. First year where women were allowed to open a bank account by themselves was 1964, right?
Oh
Without
my gosh.
sign or mail, or even permission of husband, right? First when we were allowed to take a loan or a credit card without co-signing your mail was 1974. So,
1974?
this is
No.
not our grandmothers, this is our mothers. So, right, so this is sort of
Oh,
not that long ago. So there's the outcome. What we're dealing with is now, and that's the lack of education, lack of experience, and now with the divorce rates that they are we sort of experiencing this like backlash of all that, right? Women that are um need to go from 0 to 100 overnight, they really can't, and they're struggling. And statistically, CFP website actually has a statistic: less than 23% of CFP professionals that are women. And if you look at how many of these individuals are actually the financial advisors, that goes to be even less than 17%. So what that
yes.
means, right? 85% of the time, you are getting a financial advice from an individuals that are never lived in our shoes. They were never caregivers, never caretakers, right? Not single mothers or women that had to build their career and take care of children. So, you question like how this system was built not for us, never designed for us. How are we still succeeding? And there is going to be a big generational shift because of baby boomers aging, also their mortality, morbidity tables. So there's a big wealth replacements coming from the hands of male to female. And now all of a sudden, everyone woke up and they all getting after male female advisors, after making sure women are included. And like, where was this 10 years ago, 15 years ago, right? So we're doing a lot. And I see industries really targeting women actively. And I actually start seeing a bit of side effect of that, because women are becoming a little bit jaded because there's just so much after them, just female this, female that. And women are pretty good target for product related industry because
Mm,
it sounds good. They grab their attention. They specifically sort of prey on specific need that women have. And as a result, maybe some women made some mistakes and they now know it does make them more jaded when it comes to real good financial advice. Like they sort of apprehensive, like, right? So we're creating this helpful environment, yet sometimes too much too fast, and everyone's on jumping on that wagon. It's just becoming stressful for some people, and as a result I feel that I have to actually deal a little bit of like damage control with some women that are bottle this insurance, and we're told that I should just put my money in S&P 500. And then when you try to tell them, look, you need to work with a professional because there's this big world out there, and you need to filter as to what is in your best interest. And as a fiduciary, I'm actually in a good position because I work directly for my clients. I don't work for any big institution, right? So there's no inherited conflict of interest, right? So I even dropped my license for life insurance because I want to, buy life insurance from my clients, because not because I'm getting a trail or commission, but because the client's need and their life dictates that, right? So be a true fiduciary. I'm also part of the firm that only owned by fiduciaries and partners. We don't have any silent entity like a private equity or
mm.
any type of broker dealer behind us. It's truly us financial advisors that own this firm. So to me, that was a big deal because I think when I bring the message, I want to walk the talk as well. So that's that. I'm gonna fix my camera in just one second. It's like
Wow,
moving forward.
beautiful. Yeah, go for it. Those that are
Yeah,
listening, don't have looking at a camera, that's cool. But yeah, great. Wow. So, first of all, CFP, Certified Financial Professional. Yeah.
planner, so certified financial planner. Mhm.
Planner. Yeah. Planner. CFP. I know all those letters. Um,
I'm
and
also CDFA. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst, which
yes.
allows me to do mediation, which allows me to untangle finances as a neutral party or represent one party. Generally, it becomes women, although I do work with some men as well. But women are really there, the literacy aspect, that's where I fill in. And what I do, which allows me, so in neutrality, I really can't recommend to either party what's sort of the best for them, right? Because you need to be neutral. When I work with just one specific person that brings me a divorce, I'm able to say, what are we contemplating here in a divorce? How does this gonna serve for you long term? So that I can do when I represent one party. And usually financial planning, really, that's where it starts, right? During the divorce, not after, when you sort of got what you got and you left to pick up the pieces. So I start to architect that in the middle of a divorce, and often it actually changes the divorce trajectory a little bit. It allows you to have more of a conversation around the numbers, because the numbers dictate certain things, right? Kind of like if some women are told, I'm going to take care of you, what does that mean? Quantify that. What does it mean take care of you? Is this the lump sum of money that you want to give? So this is the financial planning exercise that we do to make sure what is the sum of money we need to endow your lifestyle, right? That's what it is. Because I often hear that, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? He'll take care of you, right? You want to walk away with a certain amount of money to really make sure that's enough for you, right? And conservatively. And then second aspect is really more understanding, like if there's an alimony and you need more, then maybe typically by law you will be allowed to have. And that is because maybe you still have young kids that's going to be in the household for quite a while, right? So you're not asking for that number because you want to. You are showing the need. And it's not just today, because that's what divorce is really focused on, the immediate dissolution. The financial planning allows you to kind of paint the broad picture over time. What does that look like for me, right? As to realistically, with all the imputation of income. And I usually work in tandem with attorneys or mediators. And
Mm.
it speaks for itself. Numbers, they tend to speak for themselves once they don't.
Yeah. Very true. Wow, I'm still really, really shocked by the stats, the data around women and money, and that it was 1974 when they could open up a bank account without a male signing it. That it just blows me away. I was 9 years old at that time. It's
Yeah.
like that just seems completely unreal to me. And really those stats, the same with the other one, 1964, like that really, really does help frame what's happening with women and money
Yep. Hmm.
right now in 2025, because that wasn't very long ago.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
50 years ago.
And it's amazing how right now women really step up. I mean, the corporate world is not built for women either. And yet they are making it, and with a vow, and
Yeah.
it's incredible. But there's price to pay for that, right? So like you
Yes.
can't do it all, right? And a lot of times I see that successful women, their personal finances in complete mess because
Yeah.
they're so busy, and yet they are still mothers, they still the wives, and they still do have a menopause, and the kids are still have
Yes.
like teenager hormones that you have to address too, and you still want to
Yes.
look
I'm
good.
raising my hand. I've got all that going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Completely.
It's
So what do I'm just like gonna dive in. Like, what do you suggest for a woman who's got, like you just said, a busy life, kids, teenagers, working full time, finances are kind of like over there, hoping. I think the most common is like, I hope it's going okay, like I'm not really looking at it, but like I can pay my bills, that's good. Um, I can take, myself and my family out to dinner, that's good, but I don't really know like what's happening, let's say. And there's just kind of this wish and hope, like it's all going well, right? Like until it comes crashing down, it must all be going well.
Yeah, I think, and that's there really is no answer like that's easy to
Yeah.
say. The biggest issue, women are more emotional than male, and you probably know
Yes.
more, right? So the money is emotional, and it
Right.
feels that the women do the right thing, but the light bulb, that switch has to go on, and that's the issue. It doesn't. We have this sort of a groundhog day every day. Wake up and you do the same thing and you sort of push it out and push it out. But like there is a point where you really need to organize yourself financially. And I often see that happens either if a spouse dies or there is a divorce, then they kind of have to. But I do strongly believe that the financial literacy and that organization happens is even before marriage. because money is actually number one cause of a divorce, right? So let's go back to sort of the roots. It's a very
Yeah.
complex answer. So
Yes, definitely.
so we have to dig deeper.
Mhm.
So, money is number one cause of divorce, and that is the everyday how financial risks is shown in the personal ways, right? And the irony is that the money can also be the glue in the relationship if that financial hygiene is done right.
Mhm.
And, I often work with high net worth individuals, and I say that divorce and prenups is not for a I'm sorry, let me correct this. The prenups are not for the potential divorce. It's really more for the disclosure and for the trust that you actually go in on the open. And there's always, if you work with attorneys, you understand prenup is the given and give up something, but also gain. It's never just a prenup, you give up everything. So everyone who listens on this, you have to understand prenup is built to protect both individuals. So,
That's good to
you
know.
have to have a good attorney that do it. But that is actually ultimately the inception of marriage. And if you don't have that type of wealth, you still need to know a little bit about your finances. And I think when women tend to take some time off, and I think it's a beautiful thing to stay home and raise the kids. I think it's the luxury of this life,
Yeah.
raise your own children. I think you need to have these trusted conversations with a spouse. You will feel better, right, going into that sabbatical. You also could figure out the strategy. How do I keep the string in? And if you are someone who's interested in continuing and you're an ambitious person, you're not gonna, be satisfied to stay home as kids get older. You want to start to create sort of an idea, how do I, stay that, but also be a participant in the financial realm of this family, because you're building foundation of the house, and it's not just a house you live in, it's a house of your family. And that foundation is not strong, then you really get swept by the seat, right? Any turmoil happens and life is hard, things will come up. You want to have these conversations about the kids going to private schools. You want to see what colleges, what accounting
Mhm.
schools, and you want to be a participant in that and not just an observer. Because if God forbid something happens, you go on your own, you will be able to handle that at that point. You sort of have a little bit of that background. But also if you will, if you earn a lot of money, also like high earners, they need to understand and be responsible for their own earning, and not to just delegate to just the one person. Oh, my spouse is in touch, with that part, and I'm not dealing with this. That's fine,
Right.
but you still want to be involved in some way. So when I work with my
100%.
clients, I may deal a lot with a spouse who's male, right? A lot of it with a husband, but the wife's still always present in our annual reviews. She's still entangled in certain things, but the majority of sort of decision making and driving the train really is done by husband. But I still want to make sure that both are aware of what's happening. And I think having those on the big meetings is important. So,
Yeah.
because you will have to eventually, the the lifespan is much longer now than it used to be. And actually is an issue because a lot of people outliving their money. And women live longer than male. We have more health issues because we internalize a lot more than men do, right? So we, as a result, will pay for that later. So that's very important to be mindful of that. And as a financial advisor, I talk to my clients about menopause, fertility issues. We have to account for, we have to plan for that. And that's what that relationship is about. It's not just about the money, it's about financial plan. So
Mhm.
when you are going back to your question, when you are someone who is kind of like, I don't know what to do, like I have this money, I'm so all over the place. Well, how do you get this light bulb to go on? I actually do the value exercise with my clients. We want to start your financial life not with this daunting thought, oh, I have to take care of my money, because nobody's going to like to do that. If you're gonna see it in this like daunting way, you are not gonna get to it. You have to think of it more empowering, like what is my vision for life? Where do I want to be in life, right? Because we all want to have an aim, and that aim, if it's interesting, you tend to really focus on it, right? More. So we define what is the aim, right? Be maybe financially independent at a certain point. Maybe I want to take off and really start my own business or maybe be a consultant because I don't want to be focusing on this profession and work for someone else any longer. So you want to know, when is this time when I can actually endow my lifestyle so that I can really focus and take down the earning? When am I start shifting to taking from our portfolio, right? So that you need this aim as to what is your vision. And if you don't have a vision, then you need to really do the exercise of the values to determine what your vision is. And interesting enough, a lot of times, if you do the right way at the value exercise, you actually could find a vision that is not what you thought it was your vision, because sometimes what we think is
Yeah.
good for us isn't what it is when it comes out from that sort of exercise, right?
Yeah. Can
So,
you give us an example of that just before you go on? Like, is there one or two questions you can share just to
so it's a workshop. It's
pique our
about,
interest?
yeah, it's about an hour. We have a value sheet that has many values. We circle this value sheet, and then
Yeah.
we go down a series of questions of your relationship with money, kind of
Mhm.
how you were raised. What are the actions right now around the money? What are you taking? Like, what are you doing? And then what are your priorities, right? And what are your sort of worries? And then you kind of see how questions lead you to kind of how are you aligned as to what is your vision and how are
Mm,
you aligned? How are your decisions support your vision financially, right? I
love
call
it.
this financial mirror. We put a mirror on you and you realize, okay, this is the vision, but is there a gap? And if it's a gap,
Mm,
how do I close this, right? And in high net worth individuals, you really don't bring much value by telling you have to max your 401k, this and that, right? The higher net worth individuals, where the value is to understand that you need to work with professionals because your needs are more complex and you need a professional advisor around it. And then the second question would be who would be the good right professional for you, right? Educate yourself. What does that mean, a fiduciary? What does it mean, financial advisor? And a lot of times women ask me, well, how do I know if like, what would I even say to a financial advisor? And I often say a good financial advisor, you don't need to say much with the right questions. You know, it's my job to lead you to really the outcome and get you to your own understanding as like, okay, this is where you are. Do you like it? How do you see yourself in this position? And if
mm,
you don't, all right, so do you want to work together to really get you to this point where truly what you really want to be here, right? Based on this discovery, process. And then you create this sort of a plan. It's a long-term plan. Nothing is done over time. How
mm,
do we get to really what you want to be and where you want to be? And the hardest part, I think, for financial advisors to really keep your client disciplined on that. Specifically after divorce, these individuals just didn't have much of a discipline around the money. So a lot of times it's like scaffolding and really taking, like, even for example, any income stream directly to their accounts and putting them on almost like this allowance, right? There could be a large
mm,
allowance for high net worth or small allowance, but until they get that hang themselves, because we have a financial plan and dictates certain things. I want
mm.
to make sure we're implementing it. And if they can't do it themselves, then we need to put a structure to do that. Some people kind of you wean them off that, and some individuals, they just continue in
Yeah.
that scaffolding. So
And what about for people that are not considering, not talking about people that aren't working or don't make money, but what about people who aren't like high earners? Like what about people who just kind of make, 100,000, 200,000 a year? I mean, I know that that might also sound like high earning, but it depends where you're living in the country, right?
mhm.
Like what about people that are, just making a good living and maybe don't have extra to siphon off every month, or maybe they do, but it's just a little bit like, I mean, I guess when they do the values exercise, that is so, so helpful. And the most helpful piece that I heard, I mean, it seems helpful all around, but like to make sure you're in alignment with your values
Yeah,
and that your actions and your intentions, and in my world, maybe your like manifestation work, etc., is in alignment with what your values are. Because often those can be, like you said, they can be off. They can be,
right.
yeah,
I think it's also just healthy psychologically, right? You're in that field, so I don't want to speak for you, but I feel
for
that you
it.
feel like right, sometimes I have this to-do list and I get stressed out, but once I write it down on a piece of paper, I know I put it somewhere. I feel like there's a place for it, and I feel like, oh, I'm relieved and I'm gonna work through that. It's the same way. Well, believe it or not, even like, for example, some of my clients are not super high net worth. Like, I work with some family members, right? Somebody who is maxing their 401k and maybe has nothing else. They still have a process. For example, the key is really to make more than you spend, right? And then you have a little
Yes.
bit of that to keep putting away, but you kind of have a structure. And then honestly, I do my financial planning. I do with all my clients, regardless of how wealthy they are or not, because even if the financial plan isn't exactly what you ideally like to see, you still did it. You have that flashlight, you know that path, and you know your reality, right? So
Mhm.
you I think you'll be less stressed than knowing, like, I don't know anything about me, what's going to happen. Let me just wing it. Because that often could be very painful. Like, I've seen things that are wing it doesn't really end well. And, biggest, I think, worry for women is that they're going to be burdened for their children, right? So how do
Yes.
we, right, align ourselves with that we are not?
Big topic. Big
And we
topic.
almost kind of have to do our best, because we shouldn't really count for our children to help us. I mean, it's kind of a nice wish, right? But like,
Mm.
why should they? And that is sort of, you owe it to your children to take care of your own well-being financially. And
Mhm.
it comes to later in years, there's this Medicare, Medicaid planning. You have to make sure, nursing homes, you have to qualify for certain things. You have to have a foresight, and you are going to be paying some professionals if you're going to go that route, but the money is worth it, because United States, we have a system that was set up, and you need to understand the way around it. And if you don't, you will double pay. Like, there are opportunities, there are things that you're not aware, because they are more complex, and the other individuals are a little bit more aware of how to navigate that type of situation. So you might save in the long run a lot more if you do the right planning ahead of time, because there's no free lunch. You give in, you give up something, right? And if you've done right and on time, you could be pretty okay financially, to just have that safety net later in life. But
Yeah.
economics has to make sense.
Right.
A lot of people buy into insurance or annuities, and I think there is purposes for these type of vehicles, but you have to remember they are come at the cost, right? There's a lot of fees behind it, a lot of things. So
Right.
you want to make sure it serves the purpose, and not just because you got a good salesman that sold you on the product that felt like it's a good thing at that point. But what about the alternative, right? If you give that money in, what are you giving up? You want to know what you're giving up. If you're putting your money in a well-diversified portfolio that is sort of very well diversified with asset allocation, it could be equivalent to a cash value life insurance, and it doesn't have nearly as many hidden,
Mhm.
right? So it's like
Right.
making sure you have a professional to really create like pros and cons and make that decision with them.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. Perfect place to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Sure.
Welcome back to Come Back to Love Radio. We are on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Tune in every Thursday at 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. Eastern Time to hear the radio show live. And also, I wanted to remind you to like and subscribe everywhere you can, and that you can listen to this radio show in so many different ways. You can listen in the car on iHeartRadio or Pandora. You can ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7. You can take a walk and listen to us. It's very easy to tune in, and we're really glad you're here. Thank you so much, Tatiana. Tatiana, yeah, we this has been amazing, and I know there's more. Um, One of the things that I really wanted to ask you that I haven't had a chance yet was, how did you get into this work? Like, what? I really like to drop into the personal always on this radio show when I can. And I'm curious, like you mentioned your own divorce, so we got that piece of how your work shifted and how you focusing on women from your own experience and from your professional experience of witnessing women over so many years. But what else do you think from your upbringing, your childhood, like led you in this direction?
Yeah, I feel like it was sort of paved out for me. I didn't even really feel like I chose it. It's sort of like sometimes I'm very intuitive. That's really kind of my superpower. And
Nice.
when I was in college, I went to Ithaca College, upstate New York, and I I did internship at Merrill Lynch and
Wow.
helped a financial advisor around, responsibilities of financial advisors. And I actually did work for some people that I knew in the neighborhood, like creating like sort of the financial frameworks around their money. And it was so interesting because I'm good with numbers. I've always been the sort of the one that the type A of math sort of say, I went to special math school. The numbers was my strength. I didn't want to go higher to like the scientist world. I enjoy working with people. So I feel like I always wanted to bring the skill that I have, but directly see like the impact of it. And when I saw the money and then I kind of could put the people with the numbers that I actually knew, that was interesting. Like that sparked a little bit of like, oh, that's the direct outcome of my work. So after I did that internship, when I moved to the city, I worked for Citigroup and I did all the retirement in the home office division. Then I worked in the Raymond James in St. Petersburg, Florida, in the same way. And then I really started to go into trajectory of financial advisor more on the wealth management space. And I landed in the boutique in the city. It's a high to ultra high net worth space. We were fiduciaries when probably very small percentage of the industry was that independent advisors. That's what now is more known, but back in the day, the
Yeah.
broker dealing world was really more like Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan. There's all these big names, right? And but
Right.
really bought into the fiduciary standpoint. But what's interesting to me, the higher net worth individuals really did recognize the space of that boutique approach and maybe the conflict of interest inherited, which is, we can't really say it is a conflict of interest, but there is the way where the big institution tells you what to do with your client, where I know what's best for my client, right? Rather than a silent entity that comes in and tells me. So you have sort of more freedom and creativity to do the
Yeah.
right thing because you are directly related to that individual in that professional space. So I like doing that, and that was my math, but also more almost like a psychology of money, right? Because money, it's all emotions. Even though people say, "Oh, finances are straightforward, it's all about the emotions," but like the emotions are caused by money, and it's actually a very big factor. Like I said,
Mm.
it's an evil in some way, but it's also a good, right? Just good can be done with that. So,
Mhm.
right, that was my trajectory. I never really seeked out divorce, and I started in the space when most women were still support staff. There were very few women that were, you know, financial advisors, and
Yeah.
they were
Wow.
much older too. So I kind of
Mhm.
had to wear many hats. I was the operations, learn a little bit there and there, and then I got my CFP, and I did a lot of planning and being in that elite fiduciary focused boutique. I've worked, well, we were in metro area of New York, but we also work with many states. I've had such a diverse experience working with athletes, NHL, NFL, a lot of high executives, their families, business owner, law partners, doctors, private equity. So all of it, because we're just in such a mecca of that sort of type A busy business corporate environment that
Mm.
I learned so many dimensions of that. Then 11 years ago, I got divorced myself, and
Right.
that really sort of opened my eyes a little bit more on the other side. And we haven't had actively engaged with a lot of divorce business in my firm back then. I
Mm.
think divorce rate was nearly not what it was now.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see any difference into how the financial planning approach was to a divorced individual versus not, intact family. And but then after my own divorce, I saw the division of assets and complexities, how they were handled, and I felt that, okay, this if this is not really place of an attorney to have an expertise, is math, right?
Mm,
Why are we having a legal contract treated as its financial contract, which is actually really two dimensions of a divorce? And I
mm,
strongly believe that forensics, which are great, I work with forensics in tandem, we overlap in some way, but forensics are not forward thinkers when it comes to divorce, right? I am looking at to what are we doing here in divorce? How is this going to serve you long term? Where forensics really more the evaluating things, they backing into
yeah.
numbers, they sort of giving you the armory, and then I use that information to make the big picture from it. So I think this type of profession I have still has ways to go, and the evolution of that is
Mm,
happening. I think the knowledge is really gained on the field, to be honest. A lot of it you can learn through these designations, but you really understand it a lot more when you're doing it. And I
mm,
think that my background of working in the boutique and really seeing the different type of professions and their complexities really served me well to
yeah,
think of those very, very people in the intact families, right? So,
absolutely.
so that's kind of
Mm,
the trajectory, I think. I think.
thank you. Yeah, we're in the last couple of minutes here. I just want to really just acknowledge that you're a trailblazer. You know, you're a thought leader and a trailblazer. And yeah, you've got a lot of initials after your name, and those are hard earned. Um, hard earned, no doubt. And then that's the other piece of just trailblazing a profession that hasn't had a lot of women in it, even in 2025. I mean, the percentages that you named are so low, and your dedication to working with women especially is just so heartwarming for me, and it's so necessary, truly so necessary.
Yeah, and I
You
say
already know.
that I was that single person trying to figure it out. I
Yeah.
was a married individual trying to build a life together, and I was
Yes.
married with children trying to hold it all
Mhm.
together, which is, impossible.
Yes.
And now, as a divorced mother, I define my own level of success at financial independence. So I've covered many dimensions, and I really feel that I felt through my own skin, and
Mhm.
I've bounced back from that. And I think part of my financial literacy engagements, why people invite me, is because it's not just the message, it's really me that,
Yes.
shows up, because that's my life. I've lived it. It's not just a book, it's the lived
Right.
experience that I bring to the table.
Right. It's not just a math equation to figure out the percentages of, whatever income and retirement, and it's that you have personal experience and you bring that, and that's, to me as a woman, that's so valuable.
Coaching too, yeah, on
Yeah.
financial side, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know you can relate with me and my own experience.
Yeah.
So, wow, so lucky to have you here on Come Back to Love Radio today. I know you have a special gift, a free gift for people to receive something from you and also have some connection with you beyond listening to this radio show. So, what have you got?
So Hera, HERAFIN, herafin.com is my website. It's my entity for the divorce part. And I give 30 minutes free consultations to,
Mm,
anyone. It's complimentary. And I also
great.
host every month, third Wednesday of the month at 12 o'clock. It's called Coffee with Tatiana. It's sort of like the CDFA slash women financing a safe space where we all get, it's virtual, and we all get in one room and we sort of discuss the issues, and
Mm,
that's attorneys pop in, forensics people, realtors, coaches, you name
wow.
it. It's again, I felt like I wanted to do the podcast, but I felt like maybe I'll give that more interactive, sort of focus, and that would be that open forum. You can
I love that.
honestly, if divorce sometimes requires a little bit of anonymity. So we respect that. There's ways to accommodate that. You can sign up under the events at herafin.com. And you can also find where to submit the free consultation request, and it's all there.
Mm.
And Hera, by the way, is the Greek mythology, and
Yes.
it comes from the goddess of family and was tortured by Zeus. So there's a little
Yes.
history to that, but
Yes.
it's the
Yes.
name.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that last piece. That's so important. So
.com. Mhm.
HERAFIN.com. And that'll be in the show notes for those of you that are able to find those on Dream Vision 7 and also on my YouTube channel. But if you're listening, that's a very easy thing to remember. And yes, I love the connection with the Greek goddess. That's right on. So thank you. That's awesome. Wednesdays at 12 noon Eastern, and people can just drop in and connect around this incredibly potent, very challenging sometimes topic of money.
Yeah.
Wow,
Mm. So
beautiful.
please come. Whoever listens to this podcast clearly interested in
Yes,
money, so that's the first step. You
beautiful.
you really don't want to stop there and take the next.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. What a wealth of information we've provided our listeners, and I'm so grateful to you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank you for
much,
having me.
Tatiana. Yes, you're welcome. Have a beautiful day, everybody, and see you next week.
Bye bye.